got now is we have our harvested kale leaves. We've cleaned off any dead or bad places as we put them in here, and we've got them in the sink. We've got some cold water, and you want to just really wash them around good. Make sure that they're nice and clean before you dehydrate them. A trick that I learned from my grandma was a lot of times put a little shot of apple cider vinegar in your water, and if there are any insects in this kale or in your greens of any kind, broccoli, spinach, any kind of greens, the vinegar will kill any little insects that are in there, and they'll all curl up and float to the top, and you can pick them out, so that way you don't have any problems with munching along and hitting into a little green worm or something in your kale. So this is a good step to get them nice and clean. Once they're clean and real well washed, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put them in the colander and drain them. So I've got my colander right over here, and I'm just going to bail them out of the water. Like I said, give them an extra little swish and a shake. I'm going to put them right over here in the colander. So making sure they're nice and clean before the next step of dehydrating our kale. Okay, you see I've got a little piece here on it. That little piece needs to come off. I would take something like that and pull it away before I put it on my tray. Just looking your greens over several times is a good idea. I do not, unless they're really big pieces, I do not bother taking the veins and things out, because what I'm going to do with the kale, it's not going to matter. Okay, there you go. Okay, we've got our kale all washed real clean and put in our colander. It's kind of drip dry for a few minutes. And as you put this, we're going to put it on the dehydrator tray now. And as you see, I've got my dehydrator here, and I've got a cleanish screen on the top of it. I highly recommend these things. I absolutely love them. They make cleanup and taking things out of the tray so much easier. Anyway, as we get ready to put our kale, we're going to go through it and kind of look it over still. And we're going to put it on the tray. And I know a lot of people make kale chips out of kale, and I'm sure they're very delicious and wonderful, but I want to use my kale as a secret nutritional weapon for my family, so I'm going to make kale powder. That's what I'm working on. So we're going to take the kale, I'm going to put it into the dehydrator tray and fill it all up, and you want to be sure that as you do it, you leave the edges open and the center open for circulation and get as much on there as you can. That one little picking of kale, I have filled 2 trays. So I'm going to take this tray and have it join the other tray. I'll put them right on top. Okay, then I'm going to put the lid on top of that. And got to tuck in any little loose edges so that the lid fits on pretty good. We're going to let that kale go for a while. It will not take it very long, and we want a nice crispy dry flakes. Our kale's been in the dehydrator now for approximately 4 hours, so it's ended up to be a nice product, nice and crispy and dry like that. Okay, I'm going to take the little lid off here. And each of these trays, by the way, holds approximately 3 cups of kale. So there's about like 6 cups after you fill the 2 dehydrators. It was in my colander originally. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the whole tray like I did before, and we're just going to invert it over my big bowl, shake it out. You see how nice and clean these come? Everything comes right off of them. Do the second one the same way. Second tray, in my beautiful big bowl. Easy as peasy. So now I've got those all set up. So the next step to get my kale ready is we're going to crush it. Now, kale is one of those things that is very, 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 very good for you. As you know, kale is also a green that has a somewhat bitter taste, and a lot of times people have trouble getting it down their family's throat. 1 cup of kale is what you're supposed to eat for nutritional purposes. And see, as you can notice, as I crunch these, see those stems that we didn't bother clipping out before? They just dried up in nice little sticks. So you just go through and you can take the little sticks out as you crunch. And it's a lot easier than doing a whole bunch of trimming ahead of time. We can get them all out of there as we go, and I'm just putting them in a little side bowl. You see how nice and easy that is? But we're just going to take our hand and we're just going to keep going through and picking sticks and crunching until we get it worked into a nice powder. Alright, I got it all crunched up. Now remember, we had 6 cups to start with, fresh kale, and pretty much this is what we have left. It's not quite a full cup. I measured it out. It's 10 tablespoons. 10 tablespoons of dried kale. Plus, we still have some of the sticks, but there's, as you can see, not that many sticks left over. And they're pretty easy to pick out. They're nice and hard and chunky, and it's pretty easy to get out of there. Pretty much, if it doesn't feel soft to your fingers when you're crunching it up, you pick it out. And so that leaves us with this. And what that means to your family is, this is a tablespoon. Those of you who are cooks and chefs know that 1 tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. So approximately 2 teaspoons of this powder, which is just like that, right there, that is 1 cup of kale. Now, the reason I do this is stealth nutrition. If I tried to get my family to eat a cup of kale each, they would have a cow. If I take, say there's 3 of us, and we're going to have a nice spaghetti, if I put this much of this nice little green powder into my spaghetti sauce, nobody notices. They gobble it down. So I've just fed my family each a cup of kale for dinner, in addition to the pasta and tomatoes and whatever else we're eating. Stealth nutrition. That's why I do this. And kale is well worth spending the time on the stealth nutrition. Okay, I have my kale powder all dumped back in the bowl again, and the next step is going to be to package it up to save it. And remember, I've mentioned that I like to put my stuff in Gatorade bottles. Well, guess what? Gatorade bottles come in a lot of different sizes. These little sport bottles are great for stuff like dehydrated kale and other herbs and spices that you might have to dehydrate on the Homestead. So first step is easy. Just stick your little bottle. Remember, this has been well scrubbed, very clean, completely dry. We're going to put it in the bowl. I'm going to add a funnel, and then I'm just going to start adding it to my bottle and just scooping it full. And it just goes right in there, just slick as a whistle. So I'm going to back up just a little bit and let you see this. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the bottle full, and you can see what it looks like when it gets done. Okay, here's the finished product. We've got a little bottle of Stealth Nutrition here. As you can see, this is 6 cups of kale. It filled that whole big colander heaped full when we started out. And now we have it all into one little small, like individual sized Gatorade bottle, and it doesn't even fill up half of the bottle. So think how much kale you can put in and store, and it'll last for years like this, and it retains the minerals and the vitamins and everything else. If you want to retain the green color for years, I recommend you put this little bottle in a deep freeze or a cold, dark area, cool area. It'll just taste like perfectly fresh, brand new. I also put a little note on the side. 2 teaspoons of this is 1 cup of kale, so you don't get too carried away in a recipe and put too much of something in. Like I said, I can hide a lot of stuff in there. The other thing I like about dehydrating my kale is I can go out and pick a pound of kale, like on a day harvest, and put it in the dehydrator. A few minutes of washing it, a few minutes of dehydrating it, and then I can just keep adding to it as the summer goes on. And I can have a whole stalk of kale before I know it, for enough to last for a year or more. Kale is not the only thing I do this with. I do this with other greens and vegetables, like for example, spinach. I did spinach the other day, and sometimes you can harvest the spinach, and sometimes it's a way of saving leftovers. We had great big spinach salad, and I had it set up so that the spinach was in one bowl and all the fixings was in another bowl, and people could make their own salads. Well, I don't know how many of you guys have ever had a great big salad bar and had a whole bunch of some kind of green left over. Throw it in the dehydrator, powder it up, put it in a jar, and guess what? You can add it to recipes all year. You don't have to let that spinach go soggy and go to waste. So it's a frugal way to save, as well as a way to add extra nutrition without people noticing it. So any kind of green you have like that works especially well. But like I said, I like to use kale because it's got a lot of minerals and things, and my family will eat spinach. I can put spinach in an omelet, I can put spinach on their plate, but if I put kale for dinner, nobody eats it. So this is a way of me getting kale into my family without my family knowing it's going in. So just letting you know. And I hope that these ideas and suggestions help you. If you like these videos, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks.